Amoonguss has been the dominant support Pokemon since Pokemon Black and White. Its ability to use Spore, the only 100% accurate legal sleep move, boosts it to the top. Amoonguss also gets a move called Rage Powder, which redirects all opposing attacks to your Amoonguss, unless the Pokemon has safety goggles or is Grass type. Amoonguss also gets two other phenomenal support moves. These moves are Pollen Puff and Clear Smog. Pollen Puff heals you, and Clear Smog removes the stat changes of the target. But recently, Gamefreak made a new Paradox form of Amoonguss called Brute Bonnet. A lot of players are sticking with Amoonguss, and a lot are switching to Brute Bonnet. But which one is actually better? So, what makes Amoonguss good? Well, it has good defensive typing and good defensive stats, and paired with its good utility moves, it's no wonder why it's used so much. Going over its type weaknesses quickly, it's weak to Fire, Psychic, Flying, and Ice. Ice wasn't too popular before because Ice types were so bad defensively, but now thanks to Terra, they are a lot better, so we're going to be counting them. So Amoonguss is weak to some decent offensive types, but with a good partner has a fairly reliable way to make those weaknesses less devastating. The only issue with Amoonguss is that I find it's defined by its Spore and Rage Powder. So a Pokemon like Arcanine, which is popular right now, with a Safety Goggles item, can force a Switch or a Terra out of your Amoonguss. Another thing, a common tactic that players use is to isolate Amoonguss and kill all of its partners. Since Amoonguss's offensive stats are horrible, this usually results in a forfeit from the Amoonguss side, since it usually can't kill anything on its own. I'm probably making Amoonguss sound bad, but now let's talk about the good parts about it. It can excel in certain situations, especially setup teams, where it can take a lot of attacks and still put opponents to sleep. Catching a Switch and putting the Pokemon switching into sleep is a huge deal, because then all it takes is one more Spore and you got some free healing onto yourself with Pollen Puff. There's this team right now called Palance, or Palabalance. This team takes advantage of the Fire-Water Grass synergy with Arcanine, Amoonguss, and Palafin. This team is really strong because of the amazing synergy between these three members. It doesn't matter which two you have on the field, because no matter what combination, you will always have good synergy. On the other hand, Brute Bonnet has a higher base stat total, which is over 100 points more. Brute Bonnet has good defensive stats, but it has a worse defensive typing than Amoonguss. It has almost double the weaknesses that Amoonguss has, being weak to Fighting, Fairy, Poison, Bug, Fire, Ice, and Flying. So sure, its stats are better, but if it's weak to way more, why would you use it over Amoonguss? The reason a lot of players like to use Brute Bonnet is because of its speed. You see, Brute Bonnet outspeeds Pokemon like Iron Hands and Kingambit, meaning that you can put them to sleep before they move. Fun fact! With a max speed and adamant nature, you can outspeed Dragapult, the fastest thing in the format, without items when you have Tailwind. Without items meaning without Choice Scarf on a Dragapult. This means you can outspeed Fluttermane and Iron Bundle as long as they don't have a speed boosting item. Not only that, but its attack is good too. Your base attack stat is higher than Landorus Incarnate. Plus, you get the priority Sucker Punch and the multi-hit Bullet Seed. You could Bullet Seed yourself and boost Rage Fist on Annihilate for a good surprise. So for the final verdict, I would say that Amoonguss is better overall. Sure, Brute Bonnet is cool, and it can actually do damage, but Amoonguss seems a lot more consistent and versatile, allowing you to slot it in on a lot more teams. It's also a good switch-in for Palafin, since it's bulky and resists Palafin's weaknesses. But don't be afraid to use Brute Bonnet. Thank you all for watching.